Flexibilities in hours and scheduling. That's one thing that really came out of COVID, where employees were saying, I need more flexibility in how I'm working. Equitable practices, empowering language and terminology, meaning if someone is asking for particular pronouns, use the pronouns. And and that's just one example. Psychological safety at work, and I do a whole talk on psychological safety at work. Trust, inclusiveness, and belonging, co-worker and manager interest and care. So a lot of people say, I just feel better at my workplace when someone demonstrates that they care about what I'm doing. A coworker asks me about something or in interest in what I'm doing. So those are some of the ways that at the at the foundational level, we can create a more inclusive environment. And then there are things that leaders can do from the top down. And that is create an environment that has open dialogue. So if I'm having a problem, if I have a grievance, is there a grievance procedure? Is there someone other than my supervisor that I can go to? If I'm having a problem with my supervisor, who then can I talk to? Is there a buddy system? Is there some kind of mechanism where there's open dialogue? Creating opportunities for people to continue to progress. Not giving too much responsibility, but giving responsibility to be able to progress. Viewing wellness multidimensionally. So a lot of times I hear so much about, yeah, they gave me the Calm app. The Calm app is great. I'm not knocking the Calm app at all, but people need more than just learning how to meditate. And that is my number one go-to for my for my mental health. But for some people, meditation is not going to be their thing. And for most people, it's just not enough. And so looking at the relational wellness, physical wellness, mental wellness, emotional wellness, material wellness, the material, my technology, my finances. So looking at it multidimensionally to make sure that people have the support that they need, building trust. I did a workshop for a very large legal aid organization. And the manager, that one of the very top managers, was on the call with a lot. And there were hundreds of people on this call. And I was doing a wellness retreat. And one thing I realized very quickly was that the top manager did not know the names of the employees, of the lawyers and the social workers and the paralegals that were on the call, did not know names, and did not know who was supervising whom. That was very clear to me. And even with the questions, somebody would offer a complaint and we would go to that person and who's your supervisor? And so what department are you? Know your people. That builds a community of trust, of a community of belonging, just knowing who your team is, getting to know your people. So those are some things. I actually have a audit, a workplace audit for employers to go through a checklist, and I can work with them, or they can just go through a checklist to see, are we doing the things that we can do in the workplace? Another one that I want to mention, though, that's really important is expressing gratitude for people and acknowledging what people have done. More people are interested in just being acknowledged than even receiving money. And I'm not saying that money's not important, that people don't want to get paid well, they do, but they also want to be acknowledged for the work that they do. And that acknowledgement goes a long way in helping to someone really feel valued in the workplace.
Yeah, and it ties back to the autonomy you mentioned earlier, right? Give me something to do, let me have ownership, don't micromanage me, and then acknowledge that I did a good job. So even just those emails, that's like, kudos to so-and-so did this and that. And then one thing I'd like to mention, because I did it recently through Journey to Esquire, we were here as we had two big hurricanes in the Tampa Bay area.
Yes.
And then I had a medical injury that's clearing up now. But fell behind on some of the obligations I had promised the students. So I just sent them an email, and the email subject said transparency time. Being transparent as a leader goes a long way because they feel like, oh, yeah, they go through stuff too. It's like a reminder, but then it's also, I've known I've fallen short. I'm owning up, and I will make it up to you. And when organizations do recognize they've fallen short, if they're transparent about that, that will go a long way in creating community because people feel like you're being honest with them. And
Yeah,
so,
and it's not just it's transparency, absolutely, but it's also willing to be vulnerable. And being willing to be vulnerable doesn't mean that I have to wear my heart in my sleeve. It doesn't mean I have to tell people all of this personal information, but it does mean that I'm willing to be vulnerable and say, hey, I made a mistake. I got this wrong this time. And letting other people also learn from the mistakes that we make and how we handle that, how we respond to those mistakes.
yes, and owning up is something lawyers have to learn, right? I'm going to do a talk about AI, which will also be another CLE, so look out for that. And there's that famous case of the lawyer who used AI and got in trouble. But the key to that case was not that the lawyer used AI, is that they lied about
Yeah.
it. And then
Yes.
they lied about that to cover up another kind of thing they were not being transparent about.
Right.
That is the real issue. And so if you mess up or like me, fall short because things happen out of your control, the quicker you own up, the more compassion, like we said earlier, people will have for you, and then they will rally together to help you out, right? And as
And
lawyers, we have to do that.
you're
Yes, modeling.
modeling
Mhm.
what they then should be doing later in their career. Yeah.
Yes, yes, because that's what I always tell students, just do what you said you're going to do. The minute you know you can't do it anymore, own up to that. That gives the other person who's waiting on it an opportunity to figure out what they need to do. Do they
Yeah.
need to scrap the project altogether? Do I need to take it over? Because a lot of times I have to take it over and now I have to drop everything I'm doing. And so we're not mindful of that when we're caught up in our own stuff. But as a lawyer, you have to become mindful because that can cost you your license. And so now
Absolutely.
for the tail end, because we've talked about some practical tools and resources, I'm sure you'll have some additional ones to offer them. And of course, we'll have some information that goes with this video. Let's talk about outreach and community engagement, because sometimes you're in that workplace and you're just not getting it. Like I was getting some at my firm, but I realized, okay, I had to go outside of the firm to get the specific type of support and mentoring that I needed. And engaging with the community was a big saver for me to really feel like I was getting that autonomy, that acknowledgement, the gratitude, a lot of those things. So, what's the importance of outreach and what are some of the benefits and examples?
Yeah. Outreach is so important. And sometimes I want to talk about the difference between community engagement and community lawyering. And sometimes they do overlap. When we talk about community lawyering, we're often talking about a public interest lawyer or someone doing pro bono or doing something in partnership in the community. All very important. But we can have community engagement even if we're not doing community lawyering. So just wanted to make that point. But when we're engaged in the community, and we can talk about what that looks like, what happens is that the lawyer, especially a new lawyer, I'm thinking about that those first 10 years of practice, really gain insights into the community that they're practicing in. And it can make them a more effective lawyer because they have an understanding of their community. That these are not just people who are a complaint or some transaction or negotiation. They have an understanding of the context in which people are living and working. And I think that just makes for a richer experience, a richer lawyering experience, but it also brings something to you in terms of being a part of the community. And so there are a lot of ways to do that. You can serve on the board of directors of a local nonprofit organization like Journey to Esquire. Or you can partner with someone in local events. And the way that this if you want to keep involved in your lawyering, if you want to keep that connection, doing know your rights talks to people in workshops, at community centers, participate in educational programs. You can do things online, you can do things in person. If you want to get away from the lawyering part of it, you can work at a soup kitchen. Just doing things